So I'm Stephen Madrid. I am the vocalist of State of Nature, as well as sometimes a guitarist. I write most of the songs, I guess. At least most, like half the parts, along with my other bandmates.
Wait a minute, what is grunge? Grunge is a genre of rock music originating from the mid-'80s in Seattle, Washington, with bands like Green River, Mudhoney, the Melvins, and many others. It fused elements of punk rock and heavy metal. It became really popular in the early 90s with the release of Nirvana's Nevermind, Alice in Chains' Dirt, Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger, and Pearl Jam's 10. Overall, grunge is a very angry style of rock. At its core, it is very anti-establishment and at the time, underground.
The youth of the time became much more rebellious, rebelling against like their parents and authority figures, and they were all about forming their own culture, I guess is maybe the best way to say it. Against the man, yeah. That was a big deal. All like, we're our own people and we don't have to listen to anybody. When I was in college, there were 3 kinds of shoes that we wore, either Chucks, Doc Martens, or Birkenstocks. Everybody wore their jeans until they were falling apart, so everybody always had on ratty jeans. Flannel shirts worn all year long. If it was summer, you wore flannel shirts and t-shirts with shorts. In the winter, obviously, you wore them with a scarf, in addition to your ratty, yeah. I really liked Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, Blind Melon, Alice in Chains, but then also some other Beck, some independent indie people who you probably would not know.
Sadly, grunge didn't last very long. With the death of Kurt Cobain, Nirvana broke up, and the rest of the grunge bands struggled to survive, with many breaking up or becoming less visible. With all of this happening, the decline of the grunge genre became very visible and ended with the breakup of Soundgarden in 1997. During the decline of grunge, the post-grunge era emerged. Post-grunge focused on less of the underground and more mainstream, polished, and upbeat music. Some bands from this era included Bush, Candlebox, and from the ashes of Nirvana came Foo Fighters.
I think the main thing that wanted me to play grunge music is I just really like the tone of the music. It's a lot of like very angry vocals, heavy guitar, like heavy bass lines. I really like the energy that comes from all that kind of music. When I think it was the second half of like my 8th grade year, I started listening to Gorillaz. Like, I listened to music beforehand, but they're the band that really got me into listening to a lot more music. I guess they expanded my taste. I don't know what really wanted me to get to be a musician, but my grandfather, for almost pretty much his entire life, was a musician. He had a band in the 70s, and they had their own record, and they just kind of inspired me a lot to become a musician. Well, I wanted to start a band since I was in 8th grade, but because I wanted to play guitar, but that's before I started playing guitar. And I thought, well, I can somewhat sing, and I just need some people to get together and form a band. But it kind of took, I guess, 2 years after that, in May of 2021. And on May 8th, I started the Flying Bears. That was our first name. So Flying Bears, originally our name was going to be Train Station, because I thought of the name. Me and my friends were walking on the train tracks, and I thought, oh, that'd be kind of a cool name, but I decided against that, and I went with Flying Bears because I had this, well, I still have this Radiohead poster in my room, which shows a bunch of bears flying through the air, and I really liked the artwork. As it went on, I kind of thought Flying Bears didn't really sound, it sounded too like a generic name. I wanted to establish our brand, I guess, a bit more. Once we started going to more grunge music, because originally my band was more alternative, I guess you could even say indie rock, before we started making our own songs. But once more members left and more joined, we started playing grunge. And State of Nature I actually came up with while I was in government class. It means like before there's any kind of government, people lived in a state of nature, which is just kind of like a free-for-all, anarchist kind of thing. And I thought that was kind of perfect for our anti-establishment heavy rock band. You know, there's actually a lot of people who or bands, artists who influenced me. First off, obviously, Nirvana was really like the biggest influence of State of Nature, so far at least. Once I started songwriting more, I really liked the Strokes. I like the Strokes vocals, Pixies, Radiohead. And for my bandmates, well, I guess, and for me, I guess, Mudhoney. For my bassist, most of the time, it's Alice in Chains. So a lot of grunge bands influence us, but as well as like other non-grunge bands, like old rock. Pretty much any decade of rock influenced us in some way. It's all of that together to create our band State of Nature. Grunge is pretty much formed our band. It brought us together with the kind of music that comes out of it. It really represents, I guess, like who I am, who we are, who State of Nature is. But I hope we're around for a long time. So, long live State of Nature and all that.